Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to another conversation from the Afro Social Workers platform. And today we are having to deal with the part two of the conversation. How prepared are you if death came today? Or again, how prepared is your family if death came today? In the last conversation, we saw the importance of preparing ahead of time. And Daniel Imogore, who is an economist, said it was so important for us to conclude insurances, life insurances, or again, death insurances that could help us to be able to cover up the challenges when the challenges comes. And therefore, he said the transformation Africa and the Black community in various countries of the world needs cannot be accomplished until we change our orientation. Then, of course, we had Pastor Teresa, who was with us, and Pastor Teresa said that we are born to die. And the question again today, ladies and gentlemen, how prepared are you? Are you ready for death? If death was coming today, and apart from you, how prepared is your family? We had also the conversation, the after conversation, the pre conversation, the conversation of the families living in polygamies, the rich families, families that seem to have everything now, but when death comes, everything disappears, and you're asking yourself, what happened? Was that man such an unorganized person, or was that woman such an unorganized person? Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm inviting you to join the conversation. Stay tuned. My name is Vera Sompon. I am your host. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining into this conversation. How prepared are you? And today we are having Pastor Teresa Stahn, who says we are born to die. And of course, we are hoping Daniel is going to join us in the studio and we are going to have this conversation. Until he comes, we are going to be deliberating with Pastor Teresa Stahn. Pastor, you're welcome to this conversation today. Tell us more about who you are and why do you say we are born to die?
Thank you very much, Vera. Thank you for this wonderful topic, a topic that many of us do not want to hear about, yet it's a fact that we have to face in life. My name's Pastor Teresa Stahn, and I'm so honored to talk to us about why we need preparedness in this life, because as I said last time, that we are born to die. We are born towards death. The moment life begins, the journey of that life, the journey of death also begins, because nobody knows what happens in between. And therefore, it is our duty as living beings to prepare anytime and to take notice that the fact that I am alive, I could also at the same time not be alive at any moment. So are we spiritually prepared? Are we emotionally prepared? Are we physically prepared? Are we psychologically prepared? Should be the questions actually that would be carrying us through today because there are so many aspects hidden in death. As much as we celebrate life, how prepared are we to celebrate death? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. As much as we are prepared to celebrate life, how prepared are we to celebrate death? And that's the $1 million question I keep asking myself. And I'm wondering, can one really prepare effectively for death?
Yes, one can prepare effectively for death if they know the purpose for which they are living. Many are unprepared because they do not know, they have not realized, number one, who they are. They have not realized the purpose for which they are living. As young children, as a child, learns to crawl, as a child learns to imitate the model of the people, the surrounding that they are growing in, the people that are growing them up or bringing them up. These children have a view of life in a different way at a certain ages. But at a particular age where a child realizes who they are, they realize why they are. At one point, a child would take a model, their parents as a model, the mother or a father or any other figure that is bringing up these children as a model. They view, at a certain point, they will start viewing outside the family as models and view the world at large. And they will look for their own strengths that will shape their lives. And at that particular point, then they begin to realize who they are. But the realization is broad in that sometimes we as human beings, we forget about ourselves and we think about the world at large. We think about our environment. We think about our work. We think about how we are going to achieve certain things in life, thinking that that's a way of life and is the way to develop ourselves and the way to make ourselves, happy. But we forget that we are on a journey, and this journey could end anyhow, abruptly, at a given point that nobody knows. Because if death would knock at the doors of each one of us, then I believe we would be prepared. But because we unconsciously do not know the time, we do not know the day, then we as beings, human beings, we tend to forget easily that there is a time to live and there is a time to die. So if one realizes who they are in a positive way, why was I born? Why am I actually living? Why do I find myself in this life at this particular time? What do I want to achieve in life? That after I have achieved, when I sleep, when I die, I would say to myself, yes, I have satisfactorily achieved what I wanted and now I can rest. That is something that is very difficult for many people to achieve, and quite a small percentage of people really are truly prepared because they have accepted the fact that they are born towards dying.
Thank you so very much, ma'am. You are taking us to this unimaginable, this world where we seem not to understand. You're taking us again to the spiritual world, which makes things so complicated for many people, because you're now making us to begin to reflect about the true essence of life, the true purpose of life. And you're taking us to the world where it's going to demand from us to really reflect, um and to really ask deep questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And if I left this planet Earth, what would be said about me? I mean, you're taking us to the world of legacy, the world of what is left behind. And that reminds me of the what Miles Monroe will say, many people, the grave will so rejoice over them, and that the grave is the most happiest and the most richest place on the planet Earth, because talents that were never music that were never sung is in the grave. Poems that were never written is in the grave. Food that were never cooked, discovered and cooked is in the grave. Books that were never written, experiences that were never written are in the grave, because people go with those experiences. And he said, if I want to die, the day I want to die so empty that the grave will have nothing to rejoice over me. And now you've taken us to this big imaginary world. My question is, how do we prepare effectively, knowing that we can just go anytime, knowing that one, the rapture can just come for those who are spiritual, knowing that death can just appear anytime? How do we prepare as individuals? First, also as women, as individuals, and as families. Yes, sound.
Thank you very much, dear Vera. Life is a puzzle, yeah? And you just quoted what Monroe said. There are a lot of dreams, a lot of talents that have been buried physically. Dreams that parents would have wished, parents burying their children instead of children burying their parents, children burying their parents when they looked upon them as role models, and their whole world comes to tumble, and they think that it's all done, and then they take another direction because they believe their role models have died. And these are the mixtures of things that really confuse humankind and bring us into it brings us into a situation that we cannot decide for ourselves because our emotions have been disturbed, or our psychological aspect of our thinking has also been disturbed. Now, if we look at the word of God, for example, Ecclesiastes 12:7, it says, before dust returns to the earth as it was before, and the life breath returns to God who gave it. As a being, I have to realize and get to know who I am. Most people get to know their neighbors before they get to know themselves. Most people live the lives of other people instead of living their lives. And this is how death snatches away a lot of talent, because you're busy looking at your neighbor, you're busy living somebody else's life, you're busy wanting to be like somebody else instead of being who God created you to be. So how can you prepare, Sister Vera, if you are not yourself? People live under the shadow of other people. They are not living for themselves. Because if you know who you are, you will purpose your life. You will walk step by step according to the dream that you want. And believe me, your dreams that you have dreamt of accomplishing, they will come to pass. Why? Because you are in your world and not somebody else's world. You're not borrowing from somebody. You're just being you. And that is how your Creator will take you through step by step. By the time you come to lie or to sleep in the Lord or to sleep forever, you will be very happy. A very good example of a person that prepared in life is Enoch. Enoch is one best person that many people unfortunately do not take time to read this combination of books that have been given to us, that people until today still debate whether it was written by people or it was written by the Spirit of God, or they still, the theology still are still trying to experiment and to find out. But if you look at these stories, what some other people call their myth in the Bible, Enoch was a great person and he was just a human being like you and me. And we attest to it that we can die physically, go to the grave 6 feet under, or we can just disappear. That is also death. But you see, an example of a person that realized themselves is Enoch. Enoch lived a normal life. He came from a normal family like you and me. Enoch did what he did. The Bible, the word of God, realizes that Enoch lived a normal life until 60. And then when he began walking with God, he pleased God that it was not possible for God just to let him die and go into the dust. He took him away. So when you realized yourself, you see that your creator can take you step by step into achieving your dreams. And you cannot achieve your dreams when you're selfish, because we are created to live for another person. The reason why I'm alive is because of my neighbor. The reason why I'm alive is because of the society. The reason why I'm alive is because of a friend that is in need. The reason why we are alive is because we are a society and beings that are created to live and to help one another, whether it is physically, whether it is emotionally, whether it is psychologically. We are supposed to be there for one another. And that is how you get to know the value of life, including your own life. So when you die, it's not about accumulating materials. It's not about having wealth. It's about how you relate to your fellow beings and the environment around you. And that is the impact and the legacy that you will leave behind. That even when you die without a single cent of finances, it will be done quickly just because of the legacy and the relationship you had with the environment around you, which you positively impacted and not negatively. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pastor. This is so amazing, interesting. Also, how you express the importance of legacy and the importance of preparing oneself. And I usually, I choose, that was a conscious effort I made, to always say, if today was my last day on earth, how would it look like? And I always visualize myself when I'm dead and I'm put into my grave, into that grave, what should be written on that grave? I always visualize all this and I write them down. It would be nice if these words were written down. And now we're talking about preparing before your departure. And I'm thinking that instead of just visualizing these things, I have to write them all in a book, so well organized so that anytime anything can happen, I can just give the people that will stay back. This is what should be done, and this is where you get the finance to do what you should be done, so that nobody is going to get into any debt because they want to give me a kind of befitting burial. Thank you so much. My next question, ma'am, would be, let's take now real departure on from earth here and what happens after this. After our conversation the last time, we had a deep back um back one-to-one conversation at the backstage, and you people said something that kept me thinking all the time. And we were talking about families in polygamous homes, and we spoke about men who commit, or women who commit, or men who commit adultery and then bring children into the home, and that usually their wives, their legal wives, are not even aware of this. And we said, um and you people said, usually the problem is when the man did not write his will, and even if he wrote his will, if the child that was from outside comes, he too becomes part of the property. And now, my question to you, ma'am, is how can such problem be solved if there was no will written down, and if there was no organization, no planning, how can this pain, this emotional pain, psychological pain caused by the deceit of one person, how can we avoid that, and how can we prepare?
Yes, thank you very much. It's very, very important, especially in our society, the Afro society. We have seen from time and again, be it not just here, also in Africa, that there are so many cases that the widows and widowers and the children left behind have greatly suffered because we take death culturally as a taboo. To speak about death is a taboo, but is an aspect that we need to accept to avoid such um, conflicts between families, between siblings, between the extended families. Because if we get to know the importance of writing down a will, the importance of preparing in advance, knowing that at one point I will depart. Death is not a respecter of age, is not a respecter of gender. When it comes, it comes. So even though you are a young Turk, whether you are old or in your middle age, at all times we must be prepared. Now, our society needs to get into the system of writing a will. And a will is not just written by a man alone. A will can be written by both parties, the man and the wife. The children can also write their wish because death is not a respecter of anybody. Now, I believe in our culture as Africans, when somebody wishes something, whether it is verbal or it's in written, there is a greater tendency of us honoring that will. Now, if a man, for example, sires children outside their current marriage, or they had children before they got into a partnership or a marriage with somebody else, it is good for these men and women too to come out open and speak about the children they have sired outside. This openness will help to cut short or to avoid conflicts that will come later on when somebody has departed. I always say, life and death is like, writing your CV. What and how you're living right now, you're preparing your credentials for later on. Now, the way you will be taken here on earth when you die, what will come out at the point of death when somebody dies, that's when all the secrets come out. That's when you'll hear, oh, there are two children, I don't know, here with these children. That's where they just surface from nowhere at the time of the funeral. And they say, we are also part of this family. And it's a time of emotional disturbance, it's a time of grief. And you wouldn't want, Vera, that somebody would be coming from nowhere. It's just an example, yeah? It's just an example that some children would be coming from somewhere and say, I'm part of this family. And then, it's going to be a shock of a lifetime. How? At this particular time, you're mourning your own beloved person. On the other side, there are children coming, and we know in the African society,
beloved person at that time is a distrust person, not beloved again. At that time, there's a kind of emotion of distrust that comes in, and if the responsibility to give some slaps to the cops, you first of all give the slaps or get back to the cops, open it up again, and then talk to the cops again. What did you just do? So you did all this behind me, and now you are putting chaos and then you close it back again and then just disappear. But ma'am, as we are talking, I remembered there are
Yes.
some cultures in Cameroon whereby when the man dies, it is the sister, the child of that man's sister that inherits the property. Now, I don't know if you get it. I don't know how it is in your own country, but there are some parts of my country where if a man dies, it is not even directly the children of that man that inherits the properties or inherit anything he ever worked for. This causes so much confusion so that women are in these homes, and I'm very sure that their in-laws are even praying that they should die so that their brothers will be left without wives, so that if they die, then their sisters' children can inherit. Which means that actually your niece or nephew can even kill you, because if you die, then he or she can inherit your property. Now, we are saying that people should prepare for their death. How will such people from this culture where they come from, how should they prepare?
Wow, that's very, very difficult and a tough one. You know, the heart of a human being. The heart of a human being is very strange. You never know what is in the heart of a human being. What God gave us is actually love. But unfortunately, we have replaced love with hatred. We have replaced love with malice. We have replaced love with envy, with wickedness of the highest degree. On the other one side, we are talking about preparedness and writing the will, and who we know that in the will it's talking about heredity. Who is gonna inherit your wealth? Who is gonna inherit what? Who is gonna take on your legacy and move it further? It's not just about wealth, but sometimes it's also about the legacy. You find that there is kingship in your family. You know, this kingship has to be passed on to somebody, apart just from the wealth. But unfortunately, some of these cultures, they are the ones that actually speed up wickedness in the minds and the hearts of men and women. Unfortunately, because in this particular juncture, you cannot control the heart of a human being. When Cain plotted to kill his brother because of an offer of a sacrifice, the parents could not control the heart of a human being. You can write a will today and say, this is how I want it to be, but you're dead. If that would be honored remains to be 50-50. It could be honored, it may not be honored. You may assign somebody to take care of your younger or smaller children that fate has let it that you have left these children. These people will agree to it. They will even agree or even sign. But whether they will carry out that until these children become of age, you don't know, because you are gone. So matters of the heart of a human being are a mystery. They need to be really unpuzzled. And it can only be unpuzzled if we create awareness into such regions and places where culture and taboo has taken root. We need to sensitize people and let people know that love is what can actually put us together. That
Love.
it is against the commandment. You know, there is a commandment, the last commandment of God, the 10 commandments. You are not supposed to covet your neighbor's things and all that stuff, because that one is what leads to wickedness. When this commandment, many pastors, many servants of God never speak about it. because it clearly states that you shall not set your desire on your neighbor's house or land, his manservant or maidservant, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor.
So you are saying that this culture is promoting covetousness.
Of course it is. Because when I see that which you have and I want, and that will even lead me to the wicked act of killing you, what is that?
Now, but they say it's a culture that has existed for many years. And if it's a culture that has existed for many years, they believe that this they believe that the woman that comes may not necessarily produce the biological children, but the children of the sister will definitely be the blood, from the origin, so to say, right? And so that's why, according to them, they do everything to protect. And my question would have also been to know, how can women from this kind of marriages protect themselves, prepare themselves? Because if you're already in such a culture, it means that, like Florian Joker says, there could be fight at the end of it. Because Florian says, even when there is a will, fighting still comes up at times in polygamous families. This happens also with such cultures. They will be fighting. So you wrote the will, you set everything, but they will still fight because they are covetous, because they are malicious, because they are envious, because they just hate you who is coming from another culture, another place to come, and they don't even see that you're working. Now, we were talking the last time that you work so hard and you have built together with your husband, and then when they come into these issues, they just think that you are a gold digger. So they see you a gold digger when you are the one who has built everything, right? So my question is, how do these women prepare? How should they prepare in case of anything?
This culture is a very interesting culture in itself. The culture and the people of this culture do not even know who they are. They don't even realize who they are now. If the woman that is married to this family may not sire children from the man, how do we believe that those nieces and those nephews are also from the same family? How do we believe? Because if this woman can cheat, then the others can also as well cheat and sire children from outside. So that culture is really questionable because it is a wicked culture. It is a wicked culture practicing covetousness, the 10 commandment that is actually forbidden to covet your neighbor's stuff. And how, if, for example, if I'm in Cameroon and I get to know such culture, why would I go there in the first place? Are there not other cultures that would really make me live happily without being, the moment you get into this culture, you are accepting to become a liar. From the day you get married, there either you accept their culture. If you don't accept it, then you have to live a life of a lie. You have to do your own. If you are a very hardworking woman like you, Vera, then you would be hiding, accumulating your wealth, working hard for your children, but hiding those stuff. You'll be living under fear because you don't know who would kill you. So that they may, because they know you're working, they don't see any property, they don't see you're just living a normal life, then they would start digging to want to know. So there'll be spies behind you every day, and you will not have peace. So why even go in the first place into such a culture?
Well, when you get into this, when you meet a wonderful, nice, fine looking man that seems spiritual, good and everything, you think that it's a good looking person, so you want to get into the affair. It's when you get into that affair, then you start realizing, oh, there are some things again that are around it. And so, well, that's a challenge that we have. And so, yes, you're right.
Vera,
It means that
Vera,
this woman will have, yes, ma'am.
yes, I'm an African. In my time, my youth time, when I used to visit my grandmother, I was helping her weed the maize and all that stuff. And she would tell me, you have to do your statistics well. You have to research well. My grandmother would tell me, from this place, you go around these other places. You mention the names of those. You go around like this. You go around to, for example, you go to Würzburg, you go to Frankfurt, you go until Stuttgart, until Nuremberg. All those people are relatives. So if any young man happens to come, please, you have to ask, number one, where they come from. That means you need to know their culture well. You need to know the background of that person well. Now, in Africa, for example, we know the tribes and the cultures of some people very well, that you would not even dare, even though that person was the most handsome person in the whole world, you would not dare, because the burden that you will carry for the rest of your life is more than when you put
Can't we,
yourself
can
inside.
we say that actually even the men can break this culture? Because it's a culture, so people can
Yes.
always break them. These are norms that people have put some barriers and all this. Can one break that? Why not? Because if we have to prepare, then one should be able to say, no, I am not for this, and I want you to respect this, and all these things should be put in place, and these people should be more spiritual. But that takes me to the next question, ma'am. We are talking, we are just talking about this culture. What about when if your husband, your husband dies, and you have worked so hard, and on that day of burial, some four children come looking exactly like him. And of course, they were not, according to legal paper, they were not legally married, officiated. But when you see these young men, they look like their father, your husband, from head to toe. And they tell you, we've come also because usually most of the time it's always about property, right? My father-in-law just died and were buried. Some people said they were his children, right? But they didn't come because they didn't come there. They didn't even bother because he didn't maybe have much, right? That he was going to give out, and people will be arguing. I just imagine if it was one of these brigade, or one of these excessive over bourgeois, right? Then they would have come and say, he's my father, and I want to have part of it, right? Now, how do you as a woman, because I think women are the one who suffer this the most. Women are the one who suffer, especially in the African culture, the African countries, in most of the African countries, women are the one who suffer mostly after the departure of their husbands. So how do women now prepare for such shocks that can come? How do they prepare themselves for that? Emotionally, spiritually, and financially.
It's really, really hard, especially when somebody departs and children appear that you are not aware of. At this particular time is a time of confusion, is a time of sorrow, is a time that you did not, understand the things the way they have happened and why they have happened. So we can view it differently in many ways. Number one, you as a woman that has been affected at this particular time, I would say is not the best time to react, because it is a big shock. As you said, you'd open the casket and, give this person slap. So this is what you'd be doing. That's your version. But when you find yourself in this particular situation, would you even have the energy to do that? And then number two, we don't know whether these children are really his or not. So patience is what I would say the woman must exercise. Let this morning time go by, and then the elders or the people that brought these children, when if they are young or they are of age, then we can make an appointment and talk as a family, because at that particular time you can now listen properly and understand. Number three, we don't know whether these children are legitimate children, or what do we call legitimate in quote. Every child is a legitimate child. Yeah,
Every child is legitimate.
exactly.
They
So,
didn't
but
apply
we
to come,
say
so they are legitimate.
yes, exactly. So we don't know, but nowadays we have DNA. They can easily go and prove whether these children are really his. Then you be prepared for the second part of it, whether you will accept them. Now, acceptance will now come in, like, why did these children turn up at this particular time? Why did they not turn up before? Most of us would first think on the wealth. The first thing will go on the wealth and the heredity part of it. But we would not also think that if these children are really part of the blood of this man that has died, that surely they are also emotionally affected, and that these children, having been left outside for so long, we don't know whether they were being taken care of, we don't know how much they missed their father, we don't know how they were brought up. It could be on the other, as a person that is affected, you may not think like that, but that is the truth of the matter, that these children may
Pastor,
also.
you mean that these children, they were affected emotionally? Their father was alive. They did not come at that time so that they take care of them emotionally, so that they
Yes.
see them. They wait until the man dies. That's when they come. That who will take care of them now emotionally?
Now, that is the puzzle and the question now that you and me cannot answer, because we don't know why this man did not introduce these children in the first place. We don't know. He is gone. He is asleep. He is motionless. He cannot think. He cannot speak.
So
And
what
such
will
are
the
the
woman
things.
do to
Such are the
prepare?
things. Yes, such are the things that we should ask our men to please, to declare their properties, including those they have sired outside. That is part of their property. They should declare to us. If there is any seed that has been planted outside the home, it is our right to know, so that we get prepared when this time comes. I know that my man, because you said this man would have been cheating me, that is mistrust. There is no trust again, but he's gone. But if they do that at this time when they're still alive, then they save us the emotional distress. It may be very, very hard. You may hate him. You may not cook fufu for him for 2 months. You may not wash for him. You may sleep in a separate room, but at least he has told you the truth. He is preparing you. And for those ladies that women tell us declare their wealth, including the seeds they have planted outside, we should not, victimize them, because we are not perfect. All of us are not perfect.
Thank you so very much. We are not perfect, and so we should be able to temper justice to some of this issue. Ruth Nangi says, where is the government law? And it should solve the cases. And Leval is asking the question, what are the roles of chiefs and their counselors in regard to these challenges? Mommy Mary De Caro says, but we don't know whether the man was seeing them too when he was alive. So a lot of questions coming up. What should we do? But back to the question of Ruth. Ruth, the challenge we are facing here is that even the law cannot do much, because when the family start the fighting, then the law can be drawn to about 14 years. And then the question is, does it worth fighting that fight in the court for 14 years? Pastor, what do you think?
Yeah, thank you very much. As I said, matters of the heart and family wrangles, even the law itself, as you said, it may drag for a long time. Even the law itself comes into a position and they feel this thing can be solved or talked over, like our one of the viewers said, the chiefs and the councillors. Some of these chiefs and the councillors also, they would definitely support it without even going into it, because some of them are also culturally rooted, so it is really, really difficult. Yeah. But I would talk about the law, per government law part of it. For example, I myself am a victim of such things. When my mother died when I was 17 years old, everything was taken away from us. It was unexpected. The thing that we remained with as children was, I remember, a pair of red sandals and the clothes that we had. Everything was swept. At my mother's funeral, we had two coffins. We had to go to the court. At that particular time, we are children of 6 and the others were very young. Yeah? So I was 17, my elder sister was 18. So it was a court case that took 1 whole month. The court gave us the corpse. We went to bury her at her matrimonial home. But 7 kilometers before we reached, we found a roadblock. Police took the body back to the mortuary. And now they had to unclothe her and change into the other casket and everything. So you see, such kind like thing, the relatives, they look only at the wealth part of it. They don't care about the emotional disturbance the children will go through. They don't care about the psychological effects thereafter. They don't care about the physical upbringing of these children thereafter. They do not care. But today, I'm here, I'm talking about such things. I can advise people, I can comfort people, I can counsel people. Where was the law at this particular time? There are some things, even the law cannot intervene. That's why I spoke about love. I spoke about mutual understanding, and love is very, very important. Because when somebody is alive, there may be love amongst the family members, and you may tend to see that people love each other. But wait until that person died. For example, in our mother's situation, it was a shock because we were one tight family, very tight. But at the time of demise, that's when you know who is who. That is life. It's a mystery. And the law may intervene and it may not intervene, especially where there was no will, where there was no proper documentation of things, where there were no, in Africa we go with witnesses, with the elders, But even that, it may drag and drag, these elders will die. And who will be there then as a witness?
Wow,
So
there's a lot to do and there's a lot of work there. I mean, I
yes.
was just about to say that if the family was in peace, then maybe it would go well. And now you say there was a lot of peace there when she was alive, and when she died. I'm very sorry about what happened, but thank God that you have overcome the trauma of it. There was a conversation I had today, and I was about to ask you the question, ma'am. I had a conversation with a Muslim friend of mine, and we're talking about the talk of tonight, and I was asking her, why is it that people are so afraid to talk about death and prepare for death? And why is it that people cry when people die? And then she said, Vera, I think that people don't cry because they have lost someone. They cry their regrets of what they should have done for that person and they did not do. And then that regret comes as forms of remorse. And then so they cry, hit themselves on the ground. But if they did what they had to do and they are conscious of the fact that there is life after death, they will not engage themselves in all this weeping, crying, and all this, and being so falling and hitting themselves and wounding themselves. What do you think, ma'am? What do you think about what she said?
Yes. I would second that partially. And another reason also that they cry is true. They cry, number one, it could be maybe that person was in need and people did not act. But most of the tears of such people are crocodile tears. And as a counselor, a Christian counselor, most of the people that are affected and those that have lost people, most of them cry because not of the regret of that person, because they put themselves in the shoe of that person and they imagine if it was me. And the soul of a human being knows that after you sleep to eternity, there are consequences of that. Everybody imagines, where would I be? You dream bad dreams, you dream good dreams, of being with angels, or you are just in a palace somewhere very nice and you would not want to leave that place, or you dream you are in a very horrible place. Scientifically, they will say that is hallucination or whatever. But if you're the spiritual being part of you, you know that there is the you and you and you. And therefore, when death comes, we have to know that it separates us into two. It separates us from the physical and the spiritual, the body and the soul, from man and God. So there are different types of deaths. Now, when we are talking about sleeping, this body totally, the heart stops to beat and you don't have life anymore. The physical part of this body ends, but the spiritual part now begins. It begins in that where it left here on earth, it will continue there where it is going. Now, if it was sad here on earth, wherever it will be going, it will be a life of regrets of what I should have done and what ifs. Now, many people cry, as you said, is the remorsefulness. There is that remorsefulness in the soul of a man. That's why when you see somebody being hurt, you cannot bear it. When you see somebody being killed, when you see blood, you cannot bear, because there is that soft part of it in the inside you. Now, most people cry because they regret. They don't like the kind of lifestyle they are living. They know very well they are not where they are supposed to be. This is my best friend. This is my husband that I'm burying right now. What if it was me? God, help me to be who I am supposed to be. There is that will to be where you want to be. There is that will to do what you want to do to make things better. But somehow, the circumstances in life do not allow you to. So many people are trapped into their lives not being where they want to be. And those that are, even they have achieved a lot in life, you will find that there is a gap also inside. There's something that they lack. There is a void that needs to be filled. We may look at them and see, this person has really achieved a lot. This person is somewhere. But actually, we don't know what is inside. That's why I talk about the heart of a man. Only what is inside, what is cooking inside, is only that God knows. And unless people come out and speak about it, remember I say life is about sharing, it's about relationship, it's about talking, it's about socializing. So when we come out and speak, when we are outspoken, and when we help positively, then at this particular juncture, when somebody departs, we will be comforted. And when we cry tears of joy, because we know that they have accomplished something positively. That is where we are supposed to be heading. That when we are departing on, when death comes, then we should celebrate it just as equally how we celebrated when that child came into the world.
Wow. Celebrate death just like we celebrate life. And this is how I'm planning and hoping that mine will be celebrated. And I'm going to prepare, if God gives me the grace, everything that is supposed to be prepared before then, be it spiritually, financially, emotionally. I may not be there for those who are depending totally on me, like Ruth Nangi just said, but I'm sure that we will have prepared them by this talking with them, creating this awareness so that they know that it's a better place to come. And that as God gives us grace to be 90 years on earth, 100 years maximum, that we should make the best out of it. That last question before we conclude for today, ma'am. I have a challenge with the pictures I see on social media from the diasporas when someone dies. Why is it so? Is it not a better way to mourn the people? Mourning is supposed to be a secret, discreetful thing. Why is it that when one of us die here in the diaspora, their pictures go around the Facebook, the social media, begging for donation? Is it not a better way to do this?
Civilization, yeah? Things are changing, you know. That is very disrespectful in the first place, because life is so difficult, yeah? And many people have resorted into ways of making quick money through dead people. There are people that you would, I know, like Africans here in the diaspora, also back at home, we have this oneness. We have the spirit of oneness and the spirit of helping in times of trouble. Really, when it is made known, it's there. We are very good at it. But there are very malicious people that would even make use of that or even kill somebody and propagate lies about somebody's life and get, funds for it. It's really disrespectful. I don't know what kind of pictures go around, but if somebody has departed, let us honor that person in a nice way and not disrespect the dignity of that person. It does not matter. Those are people that some of them, I believe, would just want to spread 411 gossipers, Hey, did you know that so and so and so? Hey, then a conversation, you would read those comments, you just be wondering, are they mourning? Are they passing on information? Are they gossiping? And then you wonder. So there are people that are there to do that. Not all of them, but there are people that it is their strength to gossip. There are people that it is their strength to spread such kind of pictures around and just create awareness for themselves and not because of that person. But I will urge us to respect those that have departed. It does not matter in what circumstance they find themselves in, or how they departed. Let us respect.
Let us respect those who have gone. Thank you very much, ma'am. And last word before we go, ma'am, can we really prepare for our departure? If yes, how?
Yes, we can prepare for death. Now, for the people living in the diaspora, it's not like at home where we have farms, our parents' farms where we can be buried. Here in the diaspora, let us make use of the system, because here in Europe, it's a bureaucratic continent where everything is well documented and systematically done. Let us make use of insurances that are there. If we cannot, last time our brother told us, €25 per month is a lot. If you start saving right now until 50 years to come, along the line, when the Lord wills that you sleep, then you would have saved enough for yourself. This is for you. This is to enlighten the burden that would be for your children or for the family that would be next to you. So let us make use of the utilities that are there that have been given to us, like insurance, life insurance, or like our Mama Dikaro said, death insurance. Let us make use of it and save. There are welfares. I know Africans, we are very good in forming welfares, Let us find out where are properly properly registered welfares that are running according to the law, where you can make yourself active and benefit from the welfare. So when you depart or a family member departs, then you are able to cater for that. You are able to cater for the burial costs without a problem. We can prepare also by being psychologically, spiritually, and emotionally ready to tackle death as it comes, by realizing who we are, why we are living, setting our targets and our focus properly, so that at the time of departure, we have written or documented what we need to document about ourselves, and how we would wish to be buried, how we would wish our next of kin to be treated, or we declare whatever we have and what should go to who, documented, seal it, and we can put it to the relevant authorities, where at that particular time things will be done smoothly without a problem. So let us, brothers and sisters, let us know that the work of death is already underway the moment you begin to live. So live well and die well. It is a fact that a healthy way of living is just a way of wedding away death. And if you cannot halt the death, you can only delay it. If you cannot forever delay it, then you deny it. But it is a fact that we have to die one day. So prepare well, psychologically, physically, prepare well spiritually. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pastor Teresa Stahn, and who says, prepare well. As you are born, you are ready to die. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our conversation today. We hope you have taken some message back home. We hope you prepare for yourself. We hope you don't allow the grave to rejoice over you. But as for me, I choose to prepare now. Hoping to see you on Thursday with Mary De Caro with Your Experience Matters. Join us again for that conversation and share your experience with us. Until then, take good care of yourself